And now an important message for all of you out there who are barking mad.
My name's Mike Ellis. I have a problem. I rescue, refurbish, restore and revitalise vintage drums, in particular Premier drums. In this programme I'll share with you my adventures, ups and downs, ins and outs, triumphs and tragedies as I lavish some TLC on vintage British drums. Welcome to the Drum Fettler.
Righty-ho, Fettling chums, it is a new project time. This is from a client who I've done some work for previously, quite a bit of work actually, and you've seen some of it. Two drums, 14 and 16 inch floor toms. Now I've taken a look at the 14 inch, but I've got the 16 inch out first. It is, as you can see, a Shaftesbury made by Rose Morris in the 70s, and have many fans now in the vintage drum fraternity. The client has very helpfully sent me quite a few instructions here, telling me exactly what he wants in great detail, which is great because I've got sort of like a general overview there of both the drums and then individual instructions for each one, which makes life so much easier for me, so I don't have to keep going backwards and forwards, so that is quite wonderful. What I do need to do is I've got to fill the holes where the floor tom leg mounts were, because they are going to be replaced with Premier 39235 mounts, and also I need to fill the hole where the internal damper went, because the client does not want them. I've got to find a hoop. I've got one here that he sent an Ajax hoop, but he wants that, he'd prefer to have a triple flange, so we'll have to have a little route around in the hoop store, see what we've got there. So the first thing I need to think about doing is stripping this down. I don't know, I think I will try and get this wrap off, because I'd like to try and save the badge if I possibly can, so I will need to get the wrap off, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to, but we shall see. Yeah, strip the shell down and get the superfluous holes filled and finished. Well, welcome back to the Wet Premier Resonator kit. Now, as you will no doubt recall, we were having a few issues with finding the correct spares. Namely, or to start with, the tension rod for the bass drum. It's a very long one. I've not been able to get the right one in this length in chrome, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some special square head rods from a specialist supplier in France, no less, 165mm, which is what these are, but they don't have the T, they have a square head. Also, the gold 125 claws. Now, again, this, strangely enough, getting chrome ones used to be very easy. Not so easy these days, I can tell you. So we're going to go with these, which are another Premier design from the 90s instead. So that is that problem solved. The 10 inch, well, the hoops. I found some hoops. Found one in the USA and one in the Ukraine. The one in the USA, the shop decided that they would not ship to me, so that was off the table. The one in the Ukraine, we eventually ascertained it was not a 5 lug, it was a 6 lug, so that was no good. But I did manage to find a chap in Australia that had 2 hoops, brand new, that he was willing to sell to me, and then at the 11th hour he too realised that they were 6 lug, not 5 lug. This is because at some point in the 90s Premier changed their die-cast 10 inch hoops from 5 lug to 6 lug. We're going to go with steel hoops, so I've got to have a dig around in the hoop store, see if I've got any decent 5 lug steel hoops. The 12 inch is a little easier. Again, hoops, you'd think 12 inch, that's quite common, should be able to get those quite easily. I thought I had some. I didn't. So I've been shopping around with all my chums saying, have you got any 12-inch Premier diecast? Oops, Streamline, international size. Everyone has got bloody pre-international. I've got pre-international. No one's got any international size Streamline, except for a nice chap in France who I've had to buy them from. A salutary lesson of the global world we live in, where the shop front is all four corners of the earth. All I've got to do now is wait for the 12-inch hoops to arrive, find the 10-inch hoops, get the rods from France, and then change the lugs over on the 10 and the 12, and we're finished. Okay, right, we have another little project in today. It's going to be quite a quick one. I've got this delightfully diddy little 6-inch 70s concert tom, Premier concert tom in poly gold. Now, can you spot what's not quite right about it? It doesn't have a mount. This is for a friend of mine called Todd Sukerman, who you may know as a drummer with Styx. He's in America, and he asked me a couple of years ago to help him with a little project of his. He'd acquired this magnificent polygold Premier concert tom kit, but he was short of a few of the smaller toms. So I managed to find him an 8 and a 10-inch, but unfortunately they were with the 1446 lugs and not the 436 lugs like the rest of the kit. So I did a little bit of fettling and converted them for him. Also located a 12-inch tom. So now we have found here in jolly old England a 6-inch to match it. So he's obviously very pleased. Just got to be a quick little job to fit a 392-35 mount onto it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so the mount fits in the holes nice and neatly, but one thing I must do before we go any further is just double check that it actually grips the L-arm, because they are prone to getting a little worn inside. So before I attach it all up, and we're still sending it off to America, make sure it works. And as you can see, that is a nice tight fit. So I can now attach this in a permanent way. There we go. A little bit of an issue with the mount screws, but managed to get the right ones. That looks alright, doesn't it? Let's get it put back together. Job is what they call done. The 16-inch Shaftesbury floor tom. Well, I've got the shell completely stripped down. That wasn't any sort of a problem. Initial inspection, bearing edges on both ends seem to be in rather excellent condition. So I'm going to do a little bit of filler work. The leg mounts, well, that one's going to be okay because it's in the middle. But the other two, I'm going to have to fill those holes because that's where the lug goes, and it's far too close for the Premier 39235 to fit. The vent hole there, that's going to have to go. And I did manage to rescue the badge. We've got all the bits here that just need a bit of a fettle and a polish and a clean. So next up is hole filling and refinishing. Now then, we have the 14 here now. As I suspected, it is a Hayman shell. Certainly looks like it. with the white vibrasonic inside, so that means the 16-inch is probably going to have to be painted white, but I will check with the client first, because I'm not entirely keen on the idea of trying to strip the inside of this, but I think he may have mentioned something in his extensive notes here, so we'll take a look at those. Make sure I get it right, no guesswork, just want to be absolutely clear about what I'm going to be doing. Now obviously the holes where the Hayman lugs went, yes, you can see the round imprint of them. They're not in the same place as the Shaftesbury lugs, so all the holes on this drum are going to have to be filled, and the mount holes for the floor tom leg mounts, because they are not going to be the same as the 392. No, of course they're not. We knew that already, so I don't know why I bothered offering up 39235. There's some extra holes there for a mysterious, I don't know what that is. See, that's the mount, and that's the something else. Plenty of wood filler is going to be needed, then plenty of sanding and finishing, and then white painting on the 16-inch. This is going to be a fun job. That's the filler work done. Got all the holes on the shell filled in, so we'll leave that for a few days to go off nice and hard, and then we shall come back to it. In the meantime, I need to find a 14-inch hoop, because there's only one being supplied by the client, so let's have a look. What we've got here, 14-inch hoop. Ew, that is very, 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 very scabby. That would score, I think, a 9.5 on the scabometer. But we can de-scab these things. We'll get the scabatron out and see if we can make it nice and shiny again. Well, I've given that scabby 14-inch hoop a good going over with the Scabotron. It's got rid of the corrosion, but obviously there's no chrome underneath the corrosion, so I had a word with the client and he said it'll do because he's going to replace them. That's okay, we'll be able to use this to get the drum up into working order. Better than just throwing it away, I suppose. Still works, it just doesn't look very pretty, and it looks like it's been nibbled at by robot mice in a couple of places. That's really all I can do with this, so now we just need to get on with the shell. Well, we've got some good news on the 10-inch hoops for the wet kit. I've found two Premier steel hoops. They're the ones with the round holes, as Premier used to make them like that. I've got one that's in very nice condition, and one that's not quite so nice, but I think I can do a little bit of wizardry on it with the Scabatron and get rid of all the oomshka that's gathered on it over the years of neglect it's obviously had. So that's some good news. Hopefully that will be that little issue solved and put to beddy byes. Well, they have come up really nice. Even the very, very scabby one covered in all sorts of SH1T. Look, that's quite beautiful, even though I do say so myself. That's the 10-inch done, lugs all changed, chrome hoops on, chrome rods. So the next thing will either be the 12-inch or the bass drum. Now that depends very much on which parts arrive first. Now I've just realised I've ordered these parts, the 12-inch die-cast hoops and the 165mm tension rods, from locations in France, and there was a general strike which started a few days ago, and I'm not even sure if it's still going on or what's happening, so who knows what's going to happen there. A mystery package? What could it be? Should we find out? Yes, I think we should. It is a 1960s Premier, I think it's 289 hi-hat stand. Flush based, but it is in need of a top section, a centre pull rod and a clutch. I'll have to have a little search around and see if I have got the missing parts squirreled away somewhere. Good. Well, I found two top stems, both seem to be in good condition. That one's got a bit of sticky tape residue on it. This one's just a bit dusty and already has a little felt in there, so I'm going to use that one. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, you'll remember that at Blenheim Drums we supply these lovely 24-inch new stainless steel rods, but I suspect they might be a bit too long. I've got a couple here. No, I don't want that one. That one's been cut down. And that one's lost a lot of its chrome. No, that's too short. So, yes, it will have to be a new Blenheim Drums stainless steel rod for this. Nice. Now, have I got a suitable hi-hat clutch? No, I don't. No, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure one will find its way into the fettling vault before too long. There we go. Well, that was an easy fettle. God, I wish it could all be like that. Onto the wet 12-inch tom. Once the inner liner had been taken out and the lugs removed, it was just a case of giving the external finish a good clean with some proprietary multi-surface cleaner, making sure to get into all the nooks and crannies and round the badge to make sure everything was shiny, ship-shape and indeed Bristol fashion. Then the liner is refitted, nice and tight seam and flush round all the bearing edges. Les essors de tambour sont arrivés. Yes, the 12-inch die-cast hoops are here.
If you find yourself in need of Premier parts, and let's face it, who doesn't, pop along to the website. Even if you can't see what you need, drop me a line through the contact form. Also goes for Beverley drums, hammer drums and of course Olympic.
Right, well we're still waiting for the tension rods to come from France for the wet bass drum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on with the Shaftesbury floor toms. The 14 is actually a Hayman shell. What I need to do is tidy it up and fill all the holes, because the lug mounts and everything all ends up in the wrong places. Well, the right places if it's a Hayman drum, but this is going to be turned into a Shattery lookalike. What I need to do is get rid of all these little bits of paper where the wood filler has dried. As you will see, the filler is proud, very proud, and why shouldn't it be? Shouldn't be ashamed. No, it's proud. It's sticking out away from the shell, which is exactly how I like it, because what I would normally do now is I would take it over there to the wood shoppy bit and sand it back so it's nice and smooth. The inside obviously looks very scruffy because that's where we put the filler in from. Does that make sense? No, doesn't matter. From that side the filler was put in. I can't go over there to the wood shoppy bit and fill it because I've just noticed I have 2 holes there, didn't fill them, so I'm going to have to fill those and leave them to dry. That means this will have to go over into the next fabulous edition of the Drum Fettler. We've had quite a busy one today, haven't we? So, what have we got to look forward to? Well, there's finishing off the wet kit, the bass drum, by the next edition. One can only hope that the tension rods have arrived, and the filler in this drum will have dried, and now I'll show you what to do about measuring up and drilling it for holes to match the 16-inch. So, until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.